My child, if you are watching this message right now, it is not a coincidence and it is not something that happened by accident, because I have guided you here for a reason, and there is something very important that I want you to hear before you close your eyes tonight and before the night ends. Something in your life is about to change in a way that you did not expect, and in a way that you have been secretly praying for in the quiet moments when no one else could see your tears and no one else could understand the weight that you have been carrying inside your heart. Because I have seen every moment of your struggle. I have seen every sleepless night when your mind was filled with worries and fear and doubt, and I have heard every prayer that you whispered when you felt like the world was turning against you, and when it seemed like nothing was going your way, and even when you thought I was silent, I was still working behind the scenes, preparing a moment that would remind you that I have never left you and I never will. You have been through a season where everything felt slow and heavy and confusing, and there were days when you questioned whether your efforts even mattered and whether the dreams inside your heart would ever come true. But what you did not realize was that every step you took, even the painful ones, were leading you to a turning point that is now closer than you think, because the night you are about to enter is not an ordinary night, and the rest you are about to take will not be ordinary rest. Because while you sleep, I will move things in your life that you could never move on your own, and doors that seemed locked will begin to loosen, and situations that seemed stuck will begin to shift, because my power does not stop when you stop trying, and my plans do not fail just because the world tells you that something is impossible. There are people who doubted you, and there are people who quietly hoped that you would fail, and there are even moments when your own thoughts tried to convince you that giving up would be easier than continuing to believe. But I placed something inside of you that refuses to quit, and that quiet strength you carry is not there by accident, because it is a sign that you were created for something greater than the fear that tries to surround you and the disappointment that tried to break you. And tonight, before you sleep, I want you to release the burdens that you have been carrying for too long, because you were never meant to carry them alone, and the moment you place them in my hands, you will begin to feel a peace that cannot be explained by logic or circumstances. Something is shifting in the spiritual atmosphere around your life right now, even if your eyes cannot see it yet, because I am rearranging things that needed to move, and I am separating you from situations that were quietly draining your energy and your purpose. And even though some changes may feel uncomfortable at first, they are necessary, because I cannot bring you into the next chapter of your life while you are still holding on to what belongs in the past. And sometimes the greatest blessings begin with endings that you did not expect, but later you will understand that those endings were actually protection and redirection. Before this night ends, you will begin to notice small signs that something is different, because peace will start to replace the anxiety that has been living in your mind, and hope will begin to return to the places where disappointment once lived. And even though the full picture will not appear all at once, you will sense deep inside that something important has started, and the reason this moment is happening now is because you have reached a point where your faith has been tested enough and your patience has been stretched enough, and it is time for movement to begin again. I know there were times when you wondered why your prayers seemed delayed and why the answers you were hoping for did not come when you expected them, but what you could not see was that timing matters, and if certain doors had opened earlier, they would have led you into places that were not prepared for you, and into relationships and opportunities that would not have supported the person you are becoming. And sometimes my protection looks like delay, and sometimes my guidance looks like silence. But both are always leading you towards something better than what you were originally asking for. Tonight I want you to understand something clearly, that your story is not finished and the chapter you are currently in does not define the ending that is waiting ahead, because the pain you walked through was shaping your strength and the confusion you experienced was teaching you to trust even when you could not see the road clearly, and the setbacks you faced were preparing you for a level of growth that could not happen in comfort alone. There is a reason your heart still holds on to hope even after everything you have experienced, and that reason is that I placed that hope there as a reminder that your future is still alive and that what you have been believing for is not beyond reach. And before you sleep tonight, I want you to let go of the fear that tomorrow will look the same as yesterday, because the moment you allow faith to replace fear, you will begin to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles and possibilities where you once saw closed paths. While you rest tonight, I will be working in ways that your mind cannot calculate, because I will touch the hearts of people who are connected to your future, and I will align circumstances that you could never control on your own. And when the morning comes, you may not immediately see every detail of what has changed, but over the next days and weeks you will begin to recognize that something truly shifted during this night, and that the path ahead is opening in ways you did not expect. Do not underestimate the power of a single moment of faith, because sometimes the greatest transformations begin quietly in the background before they become visible in the physical world. And what begins tonight will continue to grow step by step until you look back and realize that this was the moment when everything started to turn in your favor. My child, you are not forgotten and you are not alone, and the challenges you faced were never meant to destroy you, but to prepare you and strengthen you and refine the person you are becoming. And before you sleep tonight, I want you to breathe deeply and release the stress and the fear and the doubt that tried to follow you through the day, because the night ahead carries a promise, and that promise is that change is already beginning, even if you cannot see it yet. And when the morning arrives, you will wake up with a renewed sense of strength and direction, knowing that something in your life has already begun to move in the right direction. Trust this moment and trust the process that is unfolding, because your patience has not been ignored, and the prayers you whispered in the quiet darkness have been heard more clearly than you realize, and the change you have been waiting for is closer than you think. And before you sleep tonight, remember that tomorrow is not simply another day, but the beginning of a new shift in your life that will slowly reveal the blessings that have been prepared for you all along. My child, there is something I need you to understand in this moment, because the change that is coming into your life is not just about one situation or one problem being solved. It is about a shift that will begin to affect many areas of your life at the same time. And even though right now you may still feel the weight of everything you have been carrying, the truth is that you are standing much closer to your breakthrough than you realize. And the reason you feel tired is not because you are failing, but because you have been fighting battles that most people around you never even noticed. And yet through all of it you kept moving forward, even when your strength felt small and your motivation felt weak. And that quiet persistence has not gone unnoticed, because every step you took in faith, even when it felt uncertain, has been building toward the moment that is beginning to unfold. There were nights when your thoughts would not let you rest, and your mind kept replaying the same worries again and again, wondering how things would ever improve and wondering if the path you chose was the right one. And those questions sometimes made you feel alone, as if you were walking through life without clear direction. But what you did not see was that even during those moments when you felt lost, I was still guiding your steps in ways that you could not recognize at the time, and every delay you experienced was actually positioning you for something that required more preparation than you originally expected. Sometimes the hardest part of waiting is not the waiting itself but the uncertainty that comes with it, because when you cannot see the outcome your mind begins to imagine the worst possibilities and fear tries to fill the silence with doubts about your future. But tonight I want you to release those fears, because the path that is opening for you was not designed by chance, and it was not created by the opinions of the people around you but by a purpose that has been forming in your life for longer than you realize. And the reason certain things had to happen the way they did is because they were shaping your perspective and strengthening your character in ways that will soon become valuable in the next chapter of your life. You may not see it yet, but there are opportunities slowly aligning around you, and some of them will appear in unexpected ways through conversations that seem ordinary at first, or through ideas that suddenly come into your mind when you least expect them. And the key for you now is to remain aware and open, because the change that begins tonight will not always appear as something dramatic or loud, but sometimes it will start quietly, like a small door opening in a place where you previously saw only a wall. There are also certain people who will begin to move out of your life naturally, because their role in your journey has already been completed. And even though it may feel confusing at first, you must understand that not everyone is meant to walk with you into the future that is being prepared for you, because some connections were only temporary lessons, and holding on to them longer than necessary would only slow down the progress that is waiting ahead. At the same time, new connections will begin to appear, and these will be people who understand your vision and who support the direction you are moving toward. And when those moments happen, you will begin to recognize that the changes unfolding around you are not random but intentional and carefully arranged in ways that you could not have planned by yourself. My child, there is also something happening within your heart, because the struggles you went through have been transforming the way you see the world and the way you see yourself. And even though pain can feel heavy in the moment, it also carries the power to refine your strength and clarify what truly matters in your life. And that clarity will soon help you make decisions that once felt impossible to make, because when you understand your purpose more clearly, the distractions and doubts that once confused you begin to lose their influence. Before you sleep tonight, I want you to take a moment to breathe deeply and let go of the idea that everything must happen instantly, because true transformation often begins beneath the surface before it becomes visible. And just like a seed grows in the soil long before anyone sees the plant above the ground, the changes happening in your life right now are developing quietly in the background, preparing the conditions for something greater to emerge. There are blessings that have been delayed, not because they were denied, but because the timing needed to align perfectly with the person you are becoming. And if those blessings had arrived earlier, they might have been wasted or misunderstood. But now you are reaching a place where your perspective is stronger and your faith is deeper, and because of that you will soon be able to recognize opportunities that you might have overlooked in the past. The night ahead is important because rest is not only about your body recovering from the day, but also about your spirit finding peace after carrying so many concerns. And when you allow yourself to rest without fear, you create space for clarity and direction to enter your life. And sometimes the answers you have been searching for begin to appear only after you finally release the pressure of trying to control everything. My child, remember that change does not always announce itself with noise and dramatic signs, because sometimes the most powerful transformations begin with quiet moments of realization, when you suddenly understand that you are no longer the same person who once felt trapped by circumstances. And that realization is closer than you think, because tonight marks the beginning of a shift that will continue unfolding step by step as you move forward with renewed faith and patience. Trust that the process unfolding around you has purpose even when you cannot see the full picture yet, because every detail of your journey has been contributing to the person you are becoming, and the strength you now carry is proof that you have already overcome more than you once believed possible, and the same strength will guide you through the opportunities and changes that are beginning to appear. Before you close your eyes tonight, remember that hope is not something fragile but something powerful that continues to live inside you even after difficult seasons, and that hope is a sign that your future still holds possibilities far greater than the challenges you have faced. And as you rest tonight, allow your mind to release the worries that tried to follow you through the day, because the next chapter of your life is slowly beginning to unfold, and the shift that starts tonight will continue to reveal itself in ways that remind you that your story is still moving towards something meaningful and extraordinary. My child, there are moments in life when everything feels uncertain and the future appears hidden behind a wall of questions, and you may feel like you have been standing in that place for a long time, wondering when things will finally begin to move again. Wondering when the prayers you whispered with so much hope will finally turn into visible answers. But I want you to listen carefully, because the silence you experienced was never abandonment, and the waiting you endured was never meaningless. It was a preparation that was shaping you in ways you could not fully understand at the time. And now you are approaching a moment when the pieces that once seemed scattered will begin to come together in a way that will make you realize that every delay had a purpose and every challenge had a lesson hidden inside it. You have walked through seasons where you felt misunderstood, where people around you could not see the vision that lived inside your heart, and sometimes their doubts made you question your own direction. But the truth is that not everyone is meant to understand your journey, because some dreams are placed inside you specifically to guide you toward a future that only you are meant to walk into. And even when others could not see the path clearly, the faith that continued to live quietly inside you was enough to keep you moving forward step by step. There were days when you felt exhausted, not only physically but emotionally, because carrying hope while facing repeated disappointments can feel heavy, and there were moments when you almost convinced yourself that lowering your expectations would make life easier, but deep inside something kept reminding you that your story was not meant to end in disappointment, and that inner voice pushing you to keep believing was not your imagination. It was a sign that your journey still had important chapters waiting ahead. Before you sleep tonight, I want you to remember that change often begins in the unseen places of life, in the quiet movements that happen behind the scenes while you are focused on simply getting through the day. And what is beginning now in your life may not appear dramatic at first, but its impact will grow stronger over time until you look back and realize that this moment marked the beginning of a completely different direction. There are things that have been working against you that you never fully noticed, situations that drained your energy and distractions that slowed your progress, but those influences are beginning to lose their power because the path you are entering requires clarity and focus. And as the days move forward, you will begin to notice that certain obstacles that once seemed permanent are no longer standing in your way the same way they used to. Some opportunities will appear quietly, almost as if they were ordinary moments, but they will carry the potential to change the direction of your life if you recognize them and move forward with courage. And the reason these opportunities will begin to appear is because the lessons you learned in the past have prepared you to handle them with greater wisdom than before. My child, you must also understand that the struggles you experienced were never meant to break you but to strengthen your ability to endure difficult moments without losing your faith. And now that strength has become part of who you are, even if you do not always recognize it. and that strength will soon become one of the reasons you are able to step into situations that once would have intimidated you. Tonight, as you prepare to rest, I want you to release the belief that you must have everything figured out before the next step can appear, because many of the most important moments in life happen when you simply choose to trust the process even without having every answer, and when you allow yourself to move forward with faith, you create space for possibilities that logic alone could never reveal. There are people who once underestimated you and people who believed that your efforts would eventually fade away, but the persistence you carried through difficult seasons has been building a foundation for something far more meaningful than temporary success, and when the changes that are beginning now start to reveal themselves, those same people will begin to see that your journey was never as small as they once believed. You are not standing at the end of your story but at the beginning of a transformation that will slowly reshape the way you see yourself and the way others see the potential within you. And the reason this transformation is happening now is because you have grown into someone who can handle greater responsibility and greater opportunities without losing the humility and determination that carried you through the earlier chapters of your life. Before you close your eyes tonight, take a moment to appreciate how far you have already come, because the distance between who you were in the past and who you are becoming now is greater than you sometimes realize, and every lesson you learn through struggle has become part of the wisdom that will guide your decisions in the future. The night ahead is not simply another night in your life. It is part of a transition that is unfolding quietly but powerfully, and while you sleep, your mind and spirit will begin to release the tension that has been building for so long, allowing a sense of renewal to enter your life in ways that will become clearer as the days move forward. My child, do not lose faith now, because the moment you are living in right now is closer to your breakthrough than any moment that came before it, and even though you cannot yet see the full picture of what is changing around you, trust that the movement has already begun and that every new day will continue to reveal signs that your life is slowly aligning with the purpose that has been guiding you all along. When the morning arrives, you may feel a quiet sense of calm that was not there before. A feeling that something inside you has shifted even if the world around you still looks the same, and that calm will be the beginning of a deeper confidence that will guide your steps forward as the next chapter of your life begins to unfold in ways that you once only imagined but are now moving closer to becoming real. My child, there is a moment in every journey when the weight of the past begins to fade and the possibilities of the future slowly start to take its place, and you are approaching that moment now, even if you cannot fully recognize it yet, because the change that is beginning in your life is not only about circumstances shifting around you but also about the way you see yourself and the way you understand the path that lies ahead of you. And for a long time you have been carrying questions about whether the effort you put into your life would ever truly lead you somewhere meaningful, but the truth is that none of your effort has been wasted and none of your perseverance has gone unseen, because every moment you continued moving forward even when things felt uncertain was quietly building the strength and wisdom that you now carry within you. There were times when you looked around and saw others moving ahead faster than you, and it made you wonder whether you were somehow falling behind in life, and those comparisons sometimes planted doubts inside your mind about whether your own journey was progressing the way it should. But what you could not see at that time was that every person walks a different path and every purpose unfolds in its own timing. And the path you have been walking required experiences that could not be rushed, because those experiences were shaping a deeper level of understanding inside you that will soon become valuable in ways you never expected. My child, The changes that are coming into your life are not random events but part of a larger alignment that has been forming gradually through every challenge you faced and every lesson you learned along the way, and even though some of those lessons were painful at the time, they helped you grow into someone who can now recognize opportunities with clearer vision and stronger faith than before. There were also moments when you felt like your prayers were echoing into silence and you wondered whether anyone truly heard the hopes you carried in your heart, but what you did not realize was that those prayers were shaping the direction of your journey in ways that could not be immediately seen. And sometimes the answers to those prayers arrive not as sudden miracles but as gradual changes that slowly transform your life step by step until you realize that the path you are walking now is very different from the one you were walking before. Tonight, as you prepare to sleep, there is something important happening within your spirit, because the doubts that once followed you so closely are beginning to lose their hold on your thoughts, and in their place a quiet sense of determination is beginning to grow, reminding you that your story is still unfolding and that the future ahead of you holds more possibilities than the past behind you. You have survived moments that once felt overwhelming, and you have learned lessons that many people never take the time to understand, and because of that you are now standing at the edge of a transformation that will slowly reveal how much strength you have gained through everything you have experienced, and that strength will guide you as new opportunities begin to appear in your life. Some of those opportunities may come through simple moments that seem ordinary at first, such as a conversation with someone who shares an idea that sparks your curiosity, or a sudden realization that leads you to try something new that you had not considered before, and those moments may seem small at the beginning, but they will carry the potential to create meaningful changes in the direction of your life. My child, do not ignore the quiet guidance that appears within your thoughts, because sometimes the direction you are meant to follow begins as a gentle feeling that encourages you to take a step you might otherwise overlook, and when you trust that guidance and move forward with courage, you begin to discover paths that were always available but required faith to recognize. The night ahead is not only a time for rest but also a time for renewal, because while your body sleeps, your mind will begin to release the tension and worries that have been building for so long, and that release will allow clarity and peace to enter your life in ways that may feel subtle at first but will grow stronger as you continue moving forward. You may wake up tomorrow and notice that your thoughts feel lighter and your perspective feels slightly different, and even though the world around you may still look the same, the way you respond to it will begin to change, because the experiences you have lived through have prepared you to see life from a deeper and more confident place. There is a reason you have been able to endure so many challenges without completely losing hope, and that reason is that your journey was never meant to end in the difficulties you faced. It was meant to grow through them and eventually move beyond them, and the moment you are approaching now is part of that movement toward a future that holds more stability and purpose than the seasons you have already passed through. Before you close your eyes tonight, I want you to release the worries that have been repeating in your mind, because the future you are moving toward will require space for new ideas and new possibilities to enter your life, and holding on to fear from the past will only make it harder to recognize the opportunities that are beginning to appear. Trust that the path unfolding before you has been forming quietly through every experience you have had. And even though you cannot yet see the full shape of what is ahead of you, the changes that are beginning tonight will continue to grow and develop in the days and weeks that follow, slowly revealing how the struggles you once questioned were actually guiding you towards something far more meaningful than you originally imagined. My child, remember that transformation does not always arrive suddenly like a storm, but often grows gently like the first light of morning appearing on the horizon, And as you move forward from this night, you will begin to notice that the direction of your life is slowly becoming clearer, and the strength within you is becoming stronger, guiding you step by step toward a future that reflects the perseverance and faith you have carried through every chapter of your journey so far.